Hey everybody, I'm Holly, aka the ScientoloGeek, and I want to welcome you all to part 27 of going over the data series. Now, we're on part 3 of policy number 23 called Proper Format and Correct Action. We went over the first two parts in episodes 25 and 26. So today, all we're going to do is pick up where we left off. I believe, not counting this video, there's going to be one other afterwards. So there's this one, which we're going to cover about 3 pages, and the next one we're going to cover probably about 2. And that should be the end of it. For those of you who don't know, I have taken up Mark Headley's birthday game challenge for myself, which is to beat Scientology subscriber count by March 13th. I know I'm not going to get anywhere close, as Scientology's subscriber count is about 80,000, and I'm only at 341, I think. But I would like to get those stats higher up. Let's get those in affluence. So subscribe, share, click the notification bell, comment, like, do what you got to do in order to spread the word, show people how crazy Scientology really is. Without further ado, let's get started.
The ideal scene. If a bad situation is a departure from the ideal scene, and if a good situation is attaining it or exceeding it, then the crux of any evaluation is the ideal scene for the area one is evaluating. Viewpoint has a lot to do with the ideal scene. To Russia, a collapsed America is the ideal scene. To America, a collapsed Russia is an ideal scene. To some have-not nations, both Russia and the US competing at vast expense for the favor of a coy petty ruler is the ideal scene to that ruler. To most other parts of the world, both these major countries interested only in their own affairs would be an ideal scene. So with viewpoint, the ideal scene can be bad or good. The ideal scene is not necessarily big and broad. An intelligence evaluator that gave the ideal scene as, quote, a defeated enemy, unquote, on every evaluation would be very inexpert. By consistency, the ideal scene must be one for that portion of an activity for which one is trying to find the why. Example: situation. Renewed activity on a front held by one platoon. Evaluation. No other points along the lines are active, and a tank road leads toward the front where the activity is. Why? Area being prepared for a tank breakout. Ideal scene: an uninhabitable area in front of the platoon, which could be done with napalm, as there is a wood there and a heavy crossfire maintained and a renewed supply of bazookas for the platoon if the napalm didn't work. Example: situation. A lot of silence from Plant 22. Evaluation. No trucks arriving with materials, no raw materials being sent by outside suppliers, suppliers irate. Why? The accounting office forgot to pay the raw materials bill and the suppliers held up all further supplies. The ideal scene. High credit rating and good accounts PR established with all creditors. And handling would include a recommendation for an evaluation of the accounting office as to why it forgot and why there was no high credit PR with a new ideal scene for that accounting office, which might be a wholly different thing. Ideal scene. An accounting office that enforces income greater than outgo. By giving the ideal scene for every situation, the evaluator is not led into a fatal contempt for the competence of all work actually being done. The ideal scene clarifies for one and all whither we are going. But even more important, the evaluation that includes an ideal scene postulates a win.
There's another Scientology term, postulate.
Postulates a win from the viewpoint of those for whom it is being done or for one's activities. Sometimes when one gets to the ideal scene and writes it down, he finds his why won't really lead to it, in which case he must get another why or familiarize himself with the scene in general to find out what he's trying to send where. In the case of an abnormally good situation, one finds he has exceeded what was formerly thought to be the ideal scene and must state a new one entirely with the why concerned with how to maintain it. Anyone reading a full evaluation in proper form can better estimate whether the why and handling are workable if the ideal scene is there. And sometimes it will be found that the evaluator is trying to do something else entirely than what everyone else thinks is a correct attainment. Thus, it's a very healthy thing to include the ideal scene. It serves as a discipline and incentive for the evaluator and those executing the program. Handling. Handling must be consistent with the situation, the evaluation, the why, and the ideal scene. Handling must be within the capabilities of those who will do the actions. Handling must be within the resources available. Handling quite often, but not always, requires a bright idea. It is peculiarly true that the less the resources available, the brighter the idea required to attain effective handling. Handling must be supervised by one person who acts as a coordinator of the program and a checker, offer, and debug expert. And last but most important, handling must be effective and final. The steps of handling are in program form. They're numbered 1, 2, 3, etc., or ABC, etc. They can be in the sequence they will be done, but this is mostly important when one person or one team is going to do the whole thing step by step. These steps are called targets. Each part of the program, each target, is assigned to someone to do or to get done. Care must be taken not to overload persons already loaded, and where this occurs, one appoints a special personnel or mission for that specific target. The supervision must see that each target gets fully done and no targets not done and no targets half done. It's up to supervision to keep track of all completions on a master sheet. Supervision debugs those targets that bog or lag by finding in them a why, which may mean a rapid evaluation of that target to rephrase it or get it clarified without altering its intended accomplishment. Supervision can reassign a target. Projects. It's expected that any complex or extensive target will have a project written for it by the person to whom it's assigned, if not by the originator. By completing this project, the target is done. Often these projects have to be passed upon by a senior before being begun. Compliance. When the master sheet shows all targets done, not done, and not half done, and not falsely reported, full situation handling can be expected. Review. When the supervisor reports all targets done, it's in the hands of fate whether the situation will now be progressed toward or attain the ideal scene. The accuracy of the data, the skill of the evaluator, the correctness of the why, the competence of the supervisor, and the skill of those executing the targets, and the willingness of those receiving the effects of all this activity, their human emotion and reaction, determine whether this evaluation approaches or attains the ideal scene. All such evaluations should be reviewed as soon as the actions have had time to take effect. An idiot optimism can suppose all is well and that it is needless to review. But if this why was wrong, then the situation will deteriorate and a worsening situation will be apparent. Thus a sharp watch has to be set. No thirst for always being right or arrogance about never being wrong must prevent an honest review. Was the ideal scene approached or attained? Or was it a wrong why and now is all Hades breaking loose? Now we don't have just renewed insistence that the why was right and that the program must go in spite of all. We have a wrong why.
So there were a couple comments I wanted to make. One, when Hubbard said that the ideal scene is based on viewpoint, for once I was like, finally he's saying something reasonable for once. It's nice to see that he includes this information. Because normally, based on what we've gone through, it seems that to him the ideal scene is a factual, objective thing and not subjective related to the person. We've talked about handling programs, which have steps, and those steps are called targets. Supervisors are to keep track of these target completions on a master sheet. We've learned that supervisors are responsible for debugging targets and reassigning them if necessary, if they're maybe phrased wrong or something. And we've learned that extensive and large targets have projects written. It says evaluations are reviewed as soon as actions have time to take effect. I would hope he doesn't mean that evaluations are done after the program is finished. Like, wouldn't you take the evaluation and look at it before you started handling it? I mean, this may be something me misreading, maybe, but I don't know. It just seems unreasonable to do the evaluation after you've already done the project. I mean, yeah, sure, you have one after, but you also have a supervisor look at the evaluation before you start the project. So that's what I wanted to get at. I don't have much to say except help boost those stats. Like, comment, subscribe, notification bell, do all that stuff. Hit me up with the link in the if you want access to the volumes, data series, flag orders, whatever, base orders, hit me up at scientologeek@gmail.com or go to the Discord link in the description and then send me a DM there with a valid Gmail address so I can send them out through Google Invites. I don't have anything else, so I guess I'll talk to all of you later. See ya.